Incredible breakthrough of the Russian armed forces in Pokrovsk. Mordvichev repeats Zhukov's strategy. Good day, dear friends. As always, we are here in our daily format to analyze the situation on the front. Reports are coming in that the Russian aerospace forces have launched strikes on Ukrainian territory. Explosions have been reported in the Khmelnytsky, Vinnytsia, and Zhytomyr regions, as well as missile attacks in the Lviv region. Let's dive into the frontline situation. Let's open the map. The first attempt of the Ukrainian armed forces to launch an offensive this year has failed. I'm referring to the attempt in early January in the Kursk region. Back then, the UAF achieved near-zero results. Instead of advancing and capturing Bolshoi Soldatsky, which was their minimum goal, they only managed to occupy the wooded areas between Berdin Hamlet and Novosotnitsky village for a few days. However, they were eventually driven out from there as well. Remember, I mentioned that the UAF reserves still include a few brigades and that the offensive in the Kursk region could have been a diversionary maneuver. Well, those brigades haven't disappeared. They are still available to Zelensky, and he will undoubtedly use them one way or another. Now, intelligence reports UAF activity in the Kherson region. So what's happening on the Kherson front? Let's figure it out. This area is the likely target of a future UAF strike. Intelligence indicates significant activity in this sector, particularly the accumulation of equipment and personnel in the villages of Limany, Golitsinovo, and Luperevo. Ammunition, vehicles, drones, and even unmanned watercraft are being transferred, not only by road, but also via the southern Bug River. Additionally, UAF forces are reportedly rehearsing landings on unprepared shores, which collectively points to preparations for a landing operation. Combined with the concentration of forces in the region and the transfer of reserves from Mykolaiv to the south, it's likely they're planning an attack on the Kinburn Spit. Here it is on the map. There are several possible scenarios for this operation. One involves a landing from Ochakiv to establish a foothold and capture Pokrovsk, not the one in Donetsk, but this Pokrovsk here, followed by securing and potentially expanding the bridgehead. Supply lines from Ochakiv would be relatively stable. Another scenario involves an operation from Stanislav and Shiroka Balka to capture nearby islands near the Spit, followed by moving on to Vinohradne. It's also possible both scenarios could be executed simultaneously. I don't want to incite panic. I warned about the offensive in the Kursk region, and you were prepared for it. I doubt anyone was surprised. Here, I'm simply sharing intelligence data as it comes in. I can't specify timelines, but something is definitely in the works. I'll share updates as more information becomes available. Now let's move on to specific results on the ground. The UAF is facing serious problems near Velikaya Novosilka. Some Ukrainian analysts stubbornly continue to mark the village of Neskuchny as under UAF control on their maps. But that's not true. Neskuchny, with all 400 buildings in the village, is under Russian control. The Russian flag has even been raised on the northern outskirts of the village, reaffirming full control. Moreover, there are already reports of Russian units probing UAF defenses in Vremivka. From Novokomar, Russian forces have begun advancing southward, nearly reaching the northern outskirts of Velikaya Novosilka. Now, look closely at the map. If Russian forces take Vremivka, the UAF will only have one heavily targeted route for withdrawal, and that route passes through the Mokry Yali River and elevated terrain, making a swift and easy retreat nearly impossible. Imagine retreating to a river, then climbing heights, all while under constant fire from artillery, drones, and rockets. Frankly, the UAF should have pulled out of Velikaya Novosilka yesterday, but political considerations are outweighing military logic. In my opinion, the military command likely understands that the UAF garrison in Velikaya Novosilka is encircled and won't be able to hold the settlement. However, Zelensky will never allow them to simply retreat to other defensive lines. As a result, the 110th UAF Brigade is shrinking daily and will soon cease to exist altogether. Meanwhile, farther north, Russian forces reached the crossing at the Mokry Yali River opposite Novocherednovatoye yesterday. At the time of this report, no additional updates have been received, but it's possible that the Russian army will cross the river and begin storming Novocherednovatoye today. Moving on. Yesterday, A video surfaced showing 4 UAF soldiers surrendering at an outpost between Yantani and Dne. This suggests that this area is already under Russian control, and forces have advanced to the southern outskirts of Dne. As a result, the village is surrounded on 3 sides: north, east, and south. The only escape route for the UAF garrison is to retreat westward. In Andriivka, it's quiet for now. The Russian command has decided to delay the assault, waiting for the flanks to advance, specifically units from Petropavlivka and Slavyanka. However, the assault on Nadevka and Uspenivka has already begun. More updates on the Novosilka front as of January 15th. The Novokomar area. Units of the Russian armed forces continue expanding their physical presence in all directions from the settlement of Novi Komar. Previously, they controlled only the residential area of the village and had just a narrow supply road, which was under constant drone strikes by Ukrainian forces. Now, there is significant fortification and expansion of the zone of control to the south, west, and north. Yesterday, Russian forces fully secured control over the eastern bank of the Mokry Yali River, further tightening the blockade of Velikaya Novosilka and Vremivka. In effect, the only dirt road through which the UAF was supplying their garrison has now become a gamble, a lottery. The situation for the 110th UAF Brigade, encircled here, will only worsen. As Vitaly Klitschko once said, not everyone will be able to surrender. Novopavlivka front as of January 15th. The UAF in Dne grows increasingly uncomfortable. It's not just discomfort. While in partial encirclement, UAF units here are suffering heavy losses. However, the political leadership in Kiev, ahead of Trump's inauguration, does not want to show weakness and therefore refuses to declare Kurakov abandoned. This has led to the ongoing plight of the UAF grouping in Dne, which is being bled dry in a village that is now useless to Ukrainian forces. It offers no tactical advantage. In fact, it puts its garrison in a suicidal position. Meanwhile, battles are ongoing on the eastern outskirts of Andriivka, north of Yantani, and in the vicinity of Konstantinopol-Ulakli. The Russian armed forces, while regrouping, are not yet pressing assaults heavily in these areas, with the exception of the northern area beyond the Volchya River. However, I don't think this will last long. The interfluve of the Soliona and Volchya rivers, as of January 15th, secured Uspenivka. As expected, after losing control of Novovasilivka, which was far better prepared for defense, the situation for the enemy in Uspenivka quickly deteriorated. Yesterday, Russian forces entered the village and secured it. Considering that this village consists of just 3 small streets, it is unlikely the Ukrainian side will hold it for long. The southern front is also beginning to collapse, which raises hopes for the swift capture of Novoalexandriivka, the next settlement after Uspenivka. There have been tactical successes in Nadevka, however progress in Yasenev has been slow. Despite Russian advances, the UAF is fiercely clinging to every possible position, throwing reserves into battle, which allows them to keep the situation under control for now. How long this will last remains to be seen. Pokrovsk front, as of January 15th, Zverevo. Fierce fighting continues in the areas of Udakne, Kotlino, and Zverevo. Russian forces have entered the first 2 settlements and are now trying to secure them. There is also progress in Zverevo, with Russian forces advancing inside the village. This poses a significant problem for the UAF. The importance of Udakne and Kotlino has been explained many times. Control over them is crucial for both the Russian and Ukrainian sides. Zverevo, however, provides access to the flank of the UAF's last line of defense on the outskirts of Pokrovsk. If the Russian army also captures the local spoil heap, a dominant elevation providing a clear view of much of the city, it will severely hinder the Ukrainian forces' ability to operate in the southern part of Pokrovsk, as well as their ability to defend against a western encirclement. As a result, fierce battles are expected. The UAF is desperately trying to stabilize the situation, but with little success so far. However, these advances are not easy for the Russian side either, and they come with losses. Myonohrad front, as of January 15th, battles for Baranivka and advancing toward the Pokrovsk-Kostiantynivka highway. Fighting in this area continues and is becoming increasingly intense. Both Ukrainian and Russian forces are transferring reserves to this sector, effectively engaging in a meeting engagement. This raises hopes for eventual success and the depletion of Ukrainian forces. As of yesterday, there were no significant changes along the front line. However, we remain hopeful. The prerequisites for further advances are in place.